What is that? Is that a shift I feel in the market? What is going on? Is the market actually shifting? Let's dive in here and we're going to let you know. My name's Ed Huck with Keller Williams, and we are here for our June 2025 market update in under 5 minutes. So I'm going to fly through this. Mortgage rates are staying pretty steady in that high 6% range. They've been there since actually probably the middle of December-ish. January, they ticked up. Actually went over 7, then it came a little under 7. So right now, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage is floating in the high 6s. We continue to expect that to be about this there for the foreseeable future, probably in the next 3, 4, 5 months, probably hovering in there. And everything I read long-term is don't expect the rates to come crashing down to, 6 or 5.5 or anything like that anytime soon. So if you're in the market for a house, don't sit in the sidelines just because you're waiting for the rates to drop. Number of new listings and listings currently for sale, both are up. So new listings are up, but just a slight bit at 1.4%. And this is for all of Cuyahoga, Lorain, and Medina counties. What's interesting though is the number of homes for sale. So the active listings right now is up 11% this year to date versus last year to date. And then if you look at the rolling 12, which I like to really take a look at because it takes this seasonality out of real estate a little bit. And it compares the previous 12 months to the other previous 12 months. That's actually, for sales are actually up 23%. So we're really starting to see the number of available homes available for a buyer to go look at today is way up from where it has been. Number of homes pending and sold. So pending is the month they go under contract. That's just up slightly at 0.4%. This is interesting though, and this is part of the reason why we have more inventory is the number of transfers. So the number of sales this year to date versus last year to date is down about 8%. And then average sale price though is still trending up at about 6%. And the rolling 12 is up at about 7%. So historically, in years past, pre-COVID, in Northeastern Ohio, we would appreciate it between 3 to 5%, with an average rate around 4%. Year over year was about where we would appreciate. Days on market is pretty much flat. It's about averaging 44 days this year to date. And the rolling 12-month average is about 39 days. Month worth of inventory though. So this is how we start tracking buyer's market versus seller's market. And when you take a quick look at this, it's up 14%. Now it's only 0.2 months up, but it continues to trend up. And if you look at the rolling 12 months, my face is sorry, it's blocking part of that. But the average is up 32%. So the rolling 12 is up 32%. Something I really want to dive into though is it's still the tale of a couple different markets. And what we mean by that is real estate is hyper local. And what we're starting to see is very different trends in different cities. So what I did here is I took the data we just talked about for Cuyahoga, Lorain, and Medina counties, the for sale, the new listings, the solds, months worth of inventory, and the average sale price, and compared those percent changes for the rolling 12-month period to Westlake, Avon Lake, Avon, homes over 2,400 square foot. So what would you'd consider your average 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath colonial in those cities. The number of available homes, and I also took out new construction. So if you take new construction out of the equation, the available resale homes in those communities is up 60% for the rolling 12 months. The number of new listings, so listings that have gone live, is up 5.8%. The number of transfers is actually down 7%. And then the month's worth of inventory, meaning, I'll show you a different graph here in a second, is up 70%. And the average sale price is only up 2.5, and it should say percent next to that. So the interesting thing is if we dive into some of these graphs, and let's try to blow this up a little bit. If you're watching on a phone, you're never going to be able to read this. So let's get this a little bigger. So this is months worth of inventory for those 3 zip codes. And you can really start to see for May, well, let's go back to solds, based on solds. If we look at this, months worth of inventory based on closed. May of this year, we're tracking at 2.1 months worth of inventory. May of last year, we were tracking at about 1.1 months worth of inventory. May of 2023, we were tracking at 1.4 months worth of inventory. So you can see, and actually, if you look back here in February, things really ticked up to 2.8 months. We had a good March and April where we put a bunch of homes under contract and then they closed. But what we're really starting to see is this trend of how much inventory we currently have available is definitely headed up for homes in Avon Lake, and Westlake over 2,400 square feet. And an easier way to kind of see this graph is if we go over here. What we look for is this gap between this blue line is number of new listings. So we had 84 new listings that fit that criteria in May. We haven't had 84 new listings in that criteria in years. So this light green is the number of available homes, and this dark green is the number of transfers. So what we see is this gap between the transfers and the available homes. And that's the biggest gap we've had in years, probably since COVID. So we are definitely starting to see in certain markets that this market is definitely starting to shift without a doubt. So when you're talking with your realtor, or if you're looking to, have questions about what's going on in your market, it's really, really important to not look at the big stats nationally. It's important not even to look at your county stats. We need to really look at what's going on in your neighborhood and your style of home. But quick recap, again, rates are still in the high 6% range. Less homes are selling this year than sold last year, which last year was one of the lowest amount of homes that sold in years. So we're going to see a lot less transfers even this year than we did last year. There's more homes to see. Again, each market is very different. And I'll say that again, we had a listing in Lakewood go live on Clifton last week. That did sell multiple offers. Really cute house. It was under 500. We have one under 400 in Bay Village going live this week. I bet you that thing sells in this weekend as well, and probably in multiple offers because it's cute as a button. But the higher price ranges are again definitely starting to slow down a bit. Wildcard, I guess, didn't review that, but obviously tariffs are still having some play with the economy, and then everything that's going on with the Middle East right now with some of the drama between Israel and Iraq having a little bit of flux in the stock market and oil prices. But for sellers, rates might be still keeping some buyers at bay. Again, less homes are selling. This inventory is up. It's still on paper a strong seller's market in a lot of communities, but again, that is definitely shifting. So if you're looking to sell your house, don't get crazy aggressive with the listing price because that really could come back and shoot yourself in the foot. For buyers, don't expect rates to come crashing down. They're, again, everything we continue to read is talking about get used to 6% for a while. Less homes are selling, inventory is up. You might not be able to, come in. If you look at a beautiful house that just hit the market, those sellers probably aren't ready to negotiate yet. They're probably going to wait for a week or two to see if they can get their price. But what we are seeing is after it's been on the market for 2 or 3 weeks, we are seeing a lot of price adjustments as well. So if you're a buyer and you're sitting on the sidelines and you want to get, I don't call it a good deal, but you want to get a house for less than the list price, if you wait a couple weeks, most sellers are starting to negotiate more. So if you have specific questions about what's going on in your neighborhood, please reach out to us and enjoy your week.